Good afternoon and welcome to S24 Insight. Today we're not starting with success but impact, because success can be personal. Impact travels. Success may get your name into rooms, but impact opens doors for others. Success may take you abroad. Impact asks what you are bringing back to your country. Our guests today represent a generation of young Africans moving between local roots and global rooms, from student leadership to energy finance, from youth platforms to international conferences, from Nigeria to Scotland, France, Switzerland, South Africa, Germany, and the climate conversation. But behind every impressive profile is a more important question. What shaped the person before the platform came? Today's conversation is about purpose, mentors, discipline, opportunity, and the ripple effect. How one life, if properly guided, can become a bridge for many others. This is also development conversation. And with me on this development conversation is a young person. Across Africa, energy is something that we key into. And if you look at data that shows that two-thirds are going into clean energy if the continent is to meet its development access and climate goals. In Nigeria, the World Bank says the DARES project is designed to assist over 17.5 million Nigerians gain new improved electricity access through distributed renewable energy solutions. So when a Nigerian researcher focuses on renewable energy financing, this is not abstract academia. It is more about families, schools, clinics, farms, small businesses, and the future of African productivity. Joining us today is Sani Musa Ibrahim, a researcher doing a doctoral degree in renewable energy financing at Robert Gordon's University, Aberdeen, with master's degree in international energy commerce and finance, founder of the Student Interactive Forum, former investment analyst, energy transition communicator, and a young Nigerian voice engaging the world on energy development and leadership. Thank you so much for joining us, Sani.
Thank you so much, Halima. It's an honor to be here.
Yes, let's begin from impact. I mentioned that you can travel as a person, and if there is mentorship in the game from the beginning, the impact you bring back, that's paying it forward, is very key. Where did your journey begin?
So my journey began, I think, right from home, from my dad, my mom, and the community I came from. I think my journey began right from there with the ambition and with the set targets that I need to do certain things. So from the onset, I knew exactly what I am supposed to do. The responsibilities were defined right from the beginning by my family. So I think it's better to say that the journey started right from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when people read your profile today, a researcher, energy finance, international platforms, climate conferences, it looks so polished. But let's go back again. Where did this journey begin? I mean, the global energy journey, because I knew it was during your master's that this started coming to bear. Yeah.
All right. So I did my BSc in chemistry. I would like to start from there. I did chemistry in APU area. And fast forward to finishing chemistry, I was now recommended for a master's degree. And this has a lot of influence from my mentor, whom I believe that we are going to talk more about him. So immediately after finishing that, this mentor of mine told me that I should go for a master's degree in either the United Kingdom or the United States of America to do either business, energy, or an MBA. So from there, I now started saying, okay, there is another possibility of me transiting from chemistry to now energy. And that is where it started. And fast forward to where I came to do my master's in international energy commerce. And then that is where you got to see me going for all these kind of events. I was in South Africa where I spoke to young people about transition, particularly when it comes to financing our renewable energy sector in Africa. It's a very huge problem, and we need to do something about that. And then you now talk of the conferences I've been to in Germany and some conferences even here in the UK. So it started right there from the right mentorship I got, a mentor who, identified that gap, who identified that sector for me.
That's lovely. I think we will get to your mentor later on in the conversation. Was there a moment in your childhood, education, family, or community that made you believe you could go beyond your immediate environment? Because I know your first degree was in Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, right?
Yeah, yeah. So to be honest with you, growing up, I think I have been an ambitious person. This is not me saying it, but this is from the feedback I have been getting so far. I have had this outlook of what the world looks like right from the beginning, as I told you. So when I was in primary school, then we used to have a television where my dad only focuses on current affairs. So we would only watch all the NTAs, all the Plateau radio, television, all these channels that were mostly focused about current affairs and politics. And right from there, I was keenly watching with the hope that someday I would be someone that would be in the TV. So from that thing, that mindset started being in my mind. And my parent would always buy me current affairs. And I was reading about the politicians, about the ministers, and all of that, and I was wondering, okay, how did they get here? So it's I think it is very accurate to say that I have seen where I would want to go from right from the beginning. I did not know how, but I knew that I would travel the world, but I did not know how, and I didn't see me coming to the United Kingdom for an advanced academic knowledge or something like that, but I knew that I would go somewhere. And this is why when we get to talk about my mentor, you would get to know more how
You
we
got
come,
here.
how we arrived.
Yes. So many young
Yeah.
people see the
Mm,
finished product, not the silent building years. What were the difficult
mm,
seasons that shaped you?
mm. There are a lot of difficult moments, to be honest. Um, a very key story that I always remember is how I was able to do my work. It was very difficult at that time for my family, because the school that I went was the most expensive school that any boy could go to from my community. I went to an FGC in Azare, and that time in my whole community, nobody went beyond the school that was in our community. So it was a very huge risk that my dad took because he did not have the financial means to do that. But we were managing until when we got to the final point where we were supposed to register for my WAEC. It was very expensive at that time. I think it's amounted to about 50,000 naira or so in 2014, 2015. So it was tough to the extent that we almost lost out on that. But God so kind, I had an uncle who came to intervene, and from that stage, his intervention made it possible for me to finish that. So this is one of the stories that I always do not forget, because if I had not done my work, then I don't think I would ever, attend anything that I have been able to get after that period. Another very difficult situation is that even after I went to school, it was very tough financially, to the extent that I was just trying to find menial jobs here and there. And while doing that, at some point, it's felt very overwhelming to the extent that I don't think I can continue with all that. And again, God, in His own mercy, introduced me to a mentor who became my benefactor, who became my sponsor. And from that time, the things started to go well. I got absolute full sponsorship, and to the extent that we are here.
This is
So we
really
started somewhere.
amazing. Yeah, this is amazing. I mean,
Yeah,
we'll get to that mentor. It seems this mentor is very key in your life journey. But before we get to the mentor,
absolutely.
let's take a few more questions on your personal journey from WAEC days to date, and let's even spotlight the energy perspective. Before energy finance, before global conferences, before Aberdeen, what was the first version
Mm.
of your dream?
My first version of my dream was to become a medical doctor. And then I wanted to become a medical doctor. I did not have the full reasons of why I wanted, but as our societies are, when you are growing and when they see that you are doing well in school, they always think that you are only bound to do medicine. So I wanted to become a medical doctor until after finishing my remedial studies at SBRS Funtua, that dream was shattered because I was not admitted to study medicine. I was given chemistry, and the journey took another shape. A lot of doubts in my mind, and a lot of worries that I have to now think again. So medical doctor was what I intended to become, but grateful that what we are doing now is also something that is taking me to my bigger goal or my target in the future.
That's interesting. I think that's a Nigerian person thing. You want to study something in your
Mm.
undergrad and you get something else, and sometimes you think about time and you're not able to just say, let me wait for another year or another year to keep looking for admission. That's really amazing to
Exactly, but
listen to.
yeah,
So when did you
yeah,
first?
exactly. But even in my own case,
Mm-hmm.
even in my own case, I tried to look for admission about 3 times. And again, this mentor, the moment I met him, he advised me not to look for other admissions again. So,
Oh,
you know,
okay. I think we should
yeah.
get to this mentor soon. When did you first realize
Mhm.
that your life could have a ripple effect beyond yourself?
Honestly, it was when I met my mentor, Dr. Balami Jamawunti, um, that I got to learn a lot. First, I learned that everything is possible because the first thing he told me is that it was possible. The scenario, even when I met him, I told him that I am studying chemistry and I have never seen anybody who has studied chemistry and become something successful. I don't know whether at that time I have a narrowed mindset or I did not have a bigger eye to see things. But that was me being realistic at the point. He was the only person that I saw who is doing well after studying chemistry. And the moment he had that, he told me that it is very possible. Chemistry is a very amazing course, is an amazing subject, and he is what he is because he did it. So it is very possible that I can do. So from there, I began to see possibility, and I began to delete every doubt that I had in my mind, and understood that definitely there is going to be impact. And even prior to that, I've always believed that service could create ripple effects, and the kind of person that you are could definitely translate to what your society becomes. So I have known from the beginning that whatever I do would have a certain amount of effect to the nearby community, to the society, or to even the cycle that I am together with. So I've had this understanding
That's
before.
really amazing. Now let's transition. Every impactful
Mm.
journey has drivers. Sometimes it is pain, sometimes it is curiosity, and sometimes it is mentorship. Sometimes it is a refusal
Mhm.
to remain small, and in your case, it's mentorship. Beyond your immediate family, what they've been able to do for you, it means it was mentorship
Mm.
that got you to this place that you are today. Now let's talk about the
Mm.
driver. That's your mentor. Um,
Mm.
where did you meet your mentor? And
Yeah.
what
So
was
I
the
mean,
thing that drew your mentor to you as an individual? Because I believe that there must be an incident. And then the incident created maybe the avenue for you to present your case or present yourself. When did you meet your
mm,
mentor? What was the incident? And what avenue did that create for you?
amazing. So you mentioned about the drivers. I think in my case, the drivers are a mix of them. Curiosity is there, ambition is there, and of course, mentorship played a huge, huge amount of role. So it's a mixture of everything. But talking particularly about my mentor, I think curiosity got me to where he was. At that time, when I came to Ahmadu Bello University and I realized that I was not given medicine, and at that time I had the conception that or misconception rather, that for me to become successful, I must be in medical school. And the fact that I was not in medical school, I had to do a lot of extra things. So immediately after realizing this, I ventured into anything that I could find to do. I ventured into doing enactus organizations, into doing a lot of organizations. I ventured into student unionism. I ventured into deliberate connections and interpersonal relationships with people from diverse places. And that is what led to the incident where I met my mentor. It was a beautiful afternoon. We were having an event, a NUBAS event. NUBAS stands for National Union of Bauchi State Student Association. And as a member, at that time, I was even a member of audit committee of the association in the university. So we were hosting a conference, and the keynote speaker for that conference is Dr. Balawunti. And prior to that, I did not know him. I didn't know what he was, who he was, the name. I did not know anything. And it was the early days when you get to attend to student unionism. So it was a whole new experience for me, less expectations. But when I went there, and this is where I will tell you how curiosity played a role. We were listening to the event, and then he was speaking. So I picked interest in one thing because the moment he started speaking, he came and he started speaking, and I was wanting to find a way of connecting with him. Then I had him mentioning the story of how he did chemistry, how he studied, how he, whatever. He was just talking about relatable things to me. And I was wondering, okay, this person, are you for real that you did chemistry and all of that? So the curiosity in me began to rise, and I kept thinking of the thing that I can do to grab his attention, because that was somebody who was a national icon, and a lot of other students are interested in meeting him. So I had to do something to stand out. And honestly, got so kind. I met him after the event and told him exactly what I shared with you just few minutes ago, that I have never seen somebody who has done chemistry and became what you become. So I would want to know how. Before meeting you, I have said that I am going to quit chemistry. At that time, I did JAM and I scored a very good score of about 270 points just to switch to pharmacy, because I never believed in chemistry. But this person, Dr. Balawunti, said to me that you should stay in chemistry and you shall succeed. And that would still stay with me till today. And did he just say that and leave me? No. He acted. He did everything possible to ensure that that success that he mentioned to me since 2018 is attainable. I get to achieve it. And that is how we started. He was mentoring me. He was telling me a lot of things. He was sharing with me content that would help me. He was financially helping me. He did my sponsorships, full absolute sponsorship, without me asking, without me knowing that that is what success could mean, or that is the road to success. He did everything. He shaped the whole journey for me. And immediately after finishing ABU, something amazing to know is that the moment I shared my results with him, I was not the best student. And this is an amazing part of him as my mentor, and something that I would like other mentors to learn from him. Immediately after sharing my result with this man, he said to me that, congratulations, you should prepare to go and do your master's in either United Kingdom or the US. To be honest, I was overwhelmed. I can't even describe how the feeling was at that time. Because I never saw myself going for an MSc. I never saw myself doing an MSc. As I told you, I knew that I would travel the world, but I never knew how. So this is somebody who broke the... So, and fast forward to what we are today.
That's really amazing to listen to. You've mentioned key germane things, that you've never met someone that studied chemistry, and Dr. Balawunti showed you that chemistry can get you somewhere. What level were you when you met Dr. Balawunti?
I was in 200 level, and that was early days. I did my first 100 level and then was trying to change. And then in 200 level, when I did my jam, trying to change, then I met this person. So from that 200 level, we walked the journey through finishing. And after finishing, he recommended that we should do energy, finance, or business. And that is how we are. Like, that is how we found ourselves transitioning from that particular chemistry to this particular field that I am doing, renewable energy financing.
Yeah. You never saw yourself going for MSc. When you got the news to say, go and study abroad, what came to mind? Because I'm sure that the first thing for somebody without that ambition is to say, where will the money come from? What am I going to be able to take care of myself? Because studying abroad is not like Nigeria. It is resource. It takes a lot of resources for you to do that. Accommodation, your feeding, your day-to-day run around, the school fees or tuition fee, etc. What came to mind instantly when you learned that your mentor said you should go for MSc immediately?
Honestly, a lot of things came. Major among them was, it was unbelievable. It was very unbelievable, because at that time, even when he wrote the message to me, it was a WhatsApp message. I was now trying to figure out, is this real? Is this a scam? But then I could see the tone, his tone of the way he writes messages, the way he speaks. I could see that tone in the message. But I was overwhelmed to the extent that I couldn't share with anybody except one friend that I had that time, my closest friend, that this is the person. So I was even not believing into the fact that I tried to verify if it is his number or not, because that was a new number, different from the number that I had. So it was very unbelievable. At first, I refused to believe it in my mind, because I have something that when I believe in something, I would always be looking forward to it, and it will disturb my sleep, and I didn't want that kind of disturbance in my head. So I began to, try to figure out, is this real? And I didn't know how to figure out because at that time also, I did not know that he can do that. So I know he's a wealthy person, but I didn't know much about what he can do. So it just started like that and got so kind. We started. After 2 weeks, he advised that I should find admission wherever I want. And this is something very amazing about the man, Balaunti. So he said to me, find the best university that you can find in the UK or in the US. The best. That is very key. So I began to find admission here and there. I began to find admission. I now resolved not to go to the US because then I had somebody that was telling me visa issues and all of that. So the moment I got admissions, I got about 7 admissions in 7 different universities across the United Kingdom, and I shared with him. Amazingly, that person chose the most expensive among them because he believed the course was better. So he did not opt for the one that is cheaper. So that was also touching. And at that time, I did not know about the expenses. I did not know. I was still not believing it. Honestly, Halim, at the time I fully believed that that could happen was not even when he paid my school fees, because he paid my tuition fee plus accommodation right before I left Nigeria. In fact, right before we even got our airplane ticket. He paid everything. No negotiation, no saying we are going to pay half, we are going to pay this. He paid everything.
That's
So
amazing.
that was how it happened. And I came here, I did not face any problem or whatsoever financially.
Oh, that's
He
really
kept on
amazing.
supporting.
That's really amazing. And I believe that mentorship goes beyond just word of mouth. It means that you need to put forward. But there are mentors and there are mentors. So what's your definition of this type of mentorship?
Yeah. So to be honest, this is beyond mentorship. I see him more as a benefactor, a father, and a mentor, and everything to describe a good person. Mentorship, as I say, it doesn't have to be financially fixated, or it doesn't have to include financial commitments. Mentorship could mean just guidance, could just mean, okay, this is what you do. How do I avoid these mistakes? So mentorship could be that. So in this instance with Dr. Balawunti, I think it is beyond that mentorship because I see him more as a father because he's doing everything that a father should do and even more. So mentorship should not just be financial, or we shouldn't define mentorship as just being financial. If your mentor is helping you financially, that is an added advantage. But a lot of mentors do not care about financial commitment, and that is why this person is really different. And I see him beyond mentor because he does mentorship and he does things that are beyond mentorship.
Parenting and mentorship at the
Exactly.
same time is rare to find because one thing with young people is we believe maybe mentorship is about somebody supporting you financially. It can go beyond that, like you've mentioned. Mentorship is somebody that guides you or shows you a better way to improve your life, not about just giving you finances. And for the fact that you believe that this kind of mentorship goes beyond just the lip service mentorship to, let's say, mentorship like a parent and giving all that is required for someone to grow is really very important, and that's the difference. I think the impact stories that we see across the world is mentors who pull you and make sure they keep going with you until you're able to stand on your own and also give back, not just you taking and taking, and also give back. So for a young Nigerian watching you from Bauchi, Zaria, Kano, Jos, Kaduna, Abuja, Lagos, or any part of Africa generally, what is the one mindset shift that changed your trajectory?
Okay, so just before I answer that, it is very relatable because this my mentor has always made it clear that his own responsibility is to support somebody until they become what they want to become. So he has always lived by that mantra, and he does that to everyone, not just me. And the mindset shift is responsibility for me. I see responsibility as a huge core value in all that I do. First, you have to be responsible before anybody sees you as a responsible person, or before everybody commits to be responsible to you. I want to, with all sense of humility, but I think the moment I met him, I started to be very intentional about responsibility. I had to be myself. I had to do what he supports me to do. So I think young people, if they can be more responsible, I think it will go a long way in attracting responsible mentors, because we have mentors and we have responsible mentors. So people um, attract what they are. There is this famous quote from my former principal when I was in secondary school, that you are addressed the way you dress. So if you translate this into, you become responsible first before somebody responsible get attracted to you, I think that will help a lot. So we have to change our mindset. It doesn't matter where that young person is, whether you are in any city or any locality. Where I come from, should I tell people where I come from?
Yeah.
People will be so surprised at how we are able to be here. So I think responsibility is very, very key. Then follow it with genuine discipline, because you have to be consistent in whatever you do. And that is the only way you can prove to people that you are worthy of being adopted as somebody to be helped through the journey.
That's really amazing. I think I mentioned there are mentors and there are mentors. You said there are mentors and there are
Yeah.
responsible mentors. So your mentor fall on the latter part. And no serious journey is built alone. Like you've mentioned, mentorship is very key. Behind most visible people are invisible people. Teachers,
Mm.
parents, friends, mentors, institutions, and moments of grace. Let's take a quick break. When we
Mm.
return, we'll talk about mentors, models, and people who open doors, just like Sani mentioned about his mentor during the course of this conversation. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still S24 Insight Saturday edition, and we've been talking to Sani Musa Ibrahim, doctoral degree student studying, and I think energy finance. And we've spoken a lot about his journey, the mentors that are keeping the guy on the radar to continue to grow in the field, and etc. Now let's go back to the conversation, Sani Ibrahim. I think you've mentioned very key things that, which is very rare. You rarely come in contact with people who want to stay with you as mentors from the beginning of your maybe study to further studies, and see you grow into the career path that you chose for yourself. Now, who are the
Mm.
people who changed the way you saw yourself apart from Dr. Balawinti?
Honestly, a lot of people, because and that is a combination of individuals and even the community where I come from, and the people that I get to mingle with even outside Nigeria. I think every person that we meet, there is something that they teach us, either a lesson or they say a season or something like that.
It's
So
a
people
blessing
have
or a
shaped me.
lesson. People in our lives are either a
Exactly.
blessing or a lesson, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a lot of people have played a key role in my journey, and the immediate people are the people from my community, because I came from a community that supports, a community that collectively work towards helping somebody. So I have to give that credit to them, and I have met really amazing people along the journey. Because when I was doing my undergrad, I wanted to start a mentorship platform where young people can be connected with people that are doing well in their relevant disciplines. So, and along that, I was meeting people, meeting one and two, like meeting a lot of people just to ensure that we are able to create that. And these people are really amazing. One thing with me is that I try to reach out to people, whoever I identify as somebody that I could learn from, or I could get something out of. I try to reach out to them, and that has helped. So it is just a general thing to say I have met really amazing people. A lot of them that it's so difficult to mention names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It wouldn't even be justifiable to say you mention names, because how many people are you going to mention at the end of the day? So,
honestly.
which of your
Yeah.
mentors gave you access, correction, confidence, discipline, or direction at a critical moment of your career path or study path?
Yeah, yeah. Quite a number of them. But I will still mention that Balawunti played a key role because he has given everything access. If you're talking about access, is allowing you to go wherever you want to go to, helping you to go wherever you want to go to. He has given me that huge amount of access, and he has offered guidance as well. So a lot of other people have done that, but I think without any thought in my mind or without any cracking of my head, he stands to be the most outstanding I have met so far.
MashaAllah. So in Nigeria, many young people say they lack access to networks. How did you build relationship without losing yourself?
Thank you so much for this beautiful question because it is a problem among young people. And I will mention the same thing that I mentioned in South Africa last year when I was speaking on a panel. You see, there is something that young people really overlook, and it is the art of connection and the art of pushing. When you push, 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 then definitely doors will open. And in doing so, there is a book that shaped my life early on. This book is called The Third Door by Alex Banayan. It's a very nice book. In that book, I read that for anything you want to do, you have to assume it. Once you assume it, you put it in your mind, then go for it. So then I always want to learn from people because I knew my background and I knew that I was not studying medicine. I knew I had to do something extraordinary. And in doing something extraordinary, you need to meet people who are extraordinary to show you the extraordinary ways of doing that. So I now began looking for people. Some people, when you reach out to them, you don't get the responses you deserve or the responses you anticipate. Some people, it takes ages. Let me tell you, there are people, there are mentors that I have met. It took me about 6 years of back-to-back messaging. I don't mean every day I have been messaging them, but from time to time, 6 years before I finally met them, before I finally got a hi from them. I know a woman that I reached out for 5 years until after 5 years that I was able to connect with her. But because I knew that this is the value I wanted to obtain and I wanted to benefit from, I kept on pushing, even when my pushing was looking like there was no response coming. But I kept on believing and doing so. So I think young people need to adopt that kind of mentality that it is not everything that you want that you can get it just within a day or over the night. You have to push because people are busy. People who are responsible, because now we are talking about responsible mentorship, they have a lot on their deck, and you cannot just get them by just showing up one day. Some they even try to examine you to see how consistent you would be and how serious you'd be with that. So I would always tell young people to keep pushing whatever you identify that you want, or if you find that person that you really want, then you have to keep on pushing and do not over push, because there is something that we call over push, because that will now frustrate the mentor or frustrate the person you are trying to reach out to. So you have to be very responsible. I talked about responsibility. Responsibility in everything helps in giving responsible results, result that you will be proud of and result that will satisfy your anticipation. So young people need to push
Yeah,
harder.
so that's responsible, maybe consistency, because you should know where to stop when you're pushing for something. Because there are mentors, like you mentioned, that they're so busy that your message will be lost in the woods. And then if you are
Mm.
too maybe consistent, sending them messages like bugging them, they might even lose interest to
Mhm.
even block you from even
Honest.
access to them. So it needs to be strategic. So what should young Africans understand about asking for help?
Okay. Young Africans, or let's even contextualize it more to Nigeria, where I know more. Young Africans, young Nigerians need to understand that there is limit. First of all, you don't ask anybody on the street about help, because sometimes you need to know who you are asking for help, and that person will always assess why are you asking for help? Why would you ask? For instance, it is a very frustrating behavior by a lot of young people. I do receive that kind of behaviors, and a lot of people who are doing absolutely well do receive that kind of behavior. From my interaction with a few people, I could understand that that behavior is very rampant among young Nigerians. You will just see somebody just connecting with you today, and the next morning they are asking you for help.
Yeah.
or you just find somebody the moment they are coming into your message, your DM, or the moment they are meeting you at that conference,
They're
they'll
asking
be asking you
already.
about help. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that is not a way of getting any result. And that is only you trying to show that you are not worthy of, being carried along for anything. So if you want to ask for help, you have to prove that you deserve that help, maybe by by being together for a while, by understanding that person, or by showing the potential to give value if you cannot give value, because there is something that you can give value and there is something that you just have the potential by so amount of time or by certain stage of your life you'd be able to give back. So until you are able to prove to that person that amount of potential or that amount of understanding, then you shouldn't go and ask them about help, because a lot of people lose out on getting help simply because they are too eager to get the help. And I have said some time ago that when we want to have mentors, then we should understand that we want them to be our mentors. We should detach anything material. We should detach anything material. If you want guidance, come for guidance and be very, very responsible about it. Take time. Do not over push them, as we talked. So young people need to learn the art of establishing a good rapport, taking time, and not showing any sense of desperation.
That's
Because
really
if you do that,
important.
then
That's really important. Desperation is the key word because instant gratification is something that we are grappling with as a generation, or I would say the Gen Zs, because we want to just get instant results, instant gratification, and all of that. Who do you still owe gratitude to today?
a lot of people,
Okay.
a lot of people,
I
honestly,
think we shouldn't mention
because
names
I
because
would,
you've mentioned a few, but I think we shouldn't
yeah, yeah,
mention
yeah,
names.
yeah, but
Go ahead.
people. I have amazing friends, I have amazing family, I have amazing mentors, I have amazing, like the support cycle is just massive. So I owe gratitude to all of them because in one way or the other, people are supporting.
Yeah.
Some support in little ways, while some support in a huge amount of ways. But I believe that support is support. And as young people, we should always acknowledge people when they support us. It doesn't matter about the size of the support. What matters is the intention behind the support. And for this, I am very grateful to a lot of people, including you that is interviewing me at this point.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much. I think we should always leave impact in people's life. Now let's move to the work itself, energy, finance, and development, because purpose becomes more powerful when it solves real problems. Let's take another quick break. When we return, we talk about this very important aspect of Sani's life. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Are you talking about me? No, no, my battery is 52%. Then my zone of charge, so it's very okay. I'm using the laptop. It can last long further.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still S24 Insight. And Sani, let's continue the conversation. Your doctoral degree focuses on renewable energy financing. Explain this simply. What problem are you trying to solve?
Hmm. Amazing. So it is no news that Africa hosts the largest renewable energy potential, and in simple terms, it means that we have the best opportunity to put renewable energy sources. Renewable energy sources, for people that are not very technical, could mean solar, hydropower, could mean electric vehicles. All these are renewable energy sources. So, and technologies. So Africa has that huge potential, and then globally, renewable energy investment is flowing. In just last year, according to Bloomberg Finance, about $2.6 trillion was invested into renewable energy financing. But it will shock you to understand that less than 2% of that kind of investment goes into Africa. This is a huge problem. And then when you now take away the financial aspect and begin to look at the livelihood part of it, where you have a lot of people living in darkness, For instance, talking about Nigeria, over 80 million Nigerians still lacking access to electricity. It is a very huge problem,
It
you
is.
know. And when you're talking about energy security, you're talking about the three fundamental A's of one, energy availability, energy access, and then energy affordability. So now we are even not having the energy access. Even the availability is not that much. And how do we even now talk about the affordability? So it's a very huge issue, and energy poverty is the bedrock of every problem that is happening, because when a country is energy sufficient, then that means industrialization will happen. When you have industrialization, people get jobs. The security of the country even improves. So it is these problems that makes me think, why then don't we have massive investment going in? If you now ask this question, you would have a lot of answers. Some would be just peripheral answers. On the surface, they look like something, but we need to go deep, because Nigeria, just as mentioned by the DES project, Nigeria requires about $400 billion of funding to fund its renewable energy to be able to meet its renewable energy target by 2060. $400 billion is a huge amount of money. And
It's
if you
not
look at
small
what we
money.
have currently,
Mm.
exactly, and if you look at what we have now, then you would realize that we have a lot of work to do.
Mm.
So it is in this spirit that I said something needs to be done, because we cannot fold our hands while the other part of the world, the global north, enjoys a better and energy system, and Africa keeps on, going down into energy poverty. So we just can't fold our hands. So it is in this spirit that I said I need to investigate what is happening, what is stopping that money from going to Africa, and what is even stopping it from going to Africa. Why do we still have 80 million people lacking access to electricity? We shouldn't have that. So that is why I decided to pursue my research
Now
in this. And
you've started your research
exactly,
in that regard, and you've mentioned that only 2% of this global finance is coming to Africa. So far,
yeah.
have you discovered where the gap is?
Yeah. So my start is in its early stage, but it is a continuation of my master's program. So in my master's, I also studied international energy finance, and I also did energy economics in France at the Institute of French Petroleum. So it is just a continuation of that. So even when I did my dissertation, I made a research about this. So the gap is huge, because when you're talking about the gap, you have to consider the policy aspect of it. That is the institutional gap. There's a huge gap in the institution. And then you also have to talk about the theoretical aspect, because that is when you idealize, when you put the ideas into, when you put the knowledge into, when you conceptualize it, then you now talk about every other gaps. So we have a lot of gaps. Our institutions are very weak. Our financial institutions are also weak. Our industries are also weak. And then there is high perception of risk. So all this combined actually becomes a huge bottleneck for investors and for financiers. And that is the problem
So
we are
what's the
battling. But now,
solution?
yeah. So that is why I'm doing the PhD, because I'm investigating the solution. But what I intend to do by the end of the PhD is to be able to recommend an innovative financing mechanism, because that is what I'm trying to do. If I identify the different pillars, because now you're talking about carbon market, you're talking about digital platforms, and you're also talking about sustainable financing. So I want to combine these three aspects and see what we can arrive at, something that we can just put together and promote investment, the risk, the risk problems in the country, and see how we can do. So by the end of the year, I mean by the end of the research, I should have a better
So
answer
I'm
to
sure we're going to follow up on that.
yeah.
This is like you coming back to
Yes.
us with what you found and suitable way to implement them to be able to attain energy sufficiency for the 80 million people that are lacking energy in Africa at large. So Africa's got
Mm.
sunlight, wind corridors, gas, minerals, young people, and growing demand. Why is energy access still such a very difficult development problem?
Yeah. It is very simple, because energy access first, you need the institutions to promote it. And when you're talking about institutions, you talk about the government. What is the government doing? Because the government has to provide the access, either directly or indirectly. They have to make the environment for investors to come and put it. So it is a huge developmental problem. simply because when you don't have it, you have other issues like poverty, issues like insecurity, and so much more.
Ripple effect.
So energy access, yeah, exactly. Energy access should be a
Negotiable.
non-compromisable aspect, yeah, a non-negotiable aspect of development. And that is why you hardly find it in other part of the world. Like for instance, this country that I am in, energy is accessible by almost everyone. So why don't we have that? And that is why you don't get to see small developmental issues. There is poverty, but then you don't see it in the same
Amount.
bottom, yeah, in the same amount what you see in Nigeria.
Or
So
severity.
it is a problem because, yeah, because it creates these major problems for us, and we need to do something about it
So if Nigeria
because
wants
the ultimate,
renewable energy to scale, who must do what differently?
everybody must do something
The
differently. The
government, banks,
government,
investors,
the
researchers,
government,
communities.
exactly. Exactly. Government must provide the environment. That is very key. Government must make the institution very strong for investors. Let me give you a personal story. I met an investor in Germany in 2024, and he has a company in Nigeria currently. They are into this. The company is called Mobile Power. So they are in the south. They are into giving rechargeable solutions to people. And I was talking to him about investment, about all this, and the conversation was like, there is huge problem because the environment is very, very tricky in Africa. So it takes a lot of documentation, it takes a lot of timing, it takes a lot of bureaucracy before projects are approved, and even if they are approved, it takes a lot of problems to put into play. Sometimes for instance, renewable energy, you want to do a mini grid, you now have to provide your own security, you now have to provide road, you have to provide a lot of things to even make it accessible. So these are issues that the government only can fix. You have to provide that enabling environment. Secondly, our financial institutions, they have to play a critical role in, minimizing the amount of interest they put in projects. Sometimes all these loans, they are very expensive, and they discourage a lot of investors. They discourage a lot of developers into coming to it. And then finally, because I said everybody has to do something differently, the people also have to be very responsible in their behaviors and all that they do, because you don't expect a developer to develop a project and that project gets vandalized, or you don't expect a project to be there and then somebody that is consuming from that project is not paying for it. For instance, the end consumers are not paying. And it's just an interrelated problem that you can say everybody, when they do their things rightly, we are going to arrive at a
At a
situation
good
where we call
position,
Nigeria.
yeah. So energy is not only about technology, it is about human dignity. A child reading at night, a clinic keeping vaccines cold, a welder keeping work
Mm,
open, a woman running a business after sunset. So if you look at
mm,
it from this perspective, you've engaged platforms across energy and development, including youth energy conversation, renewable energy forums, and climate spaces. What did global rooms teach
mm.
you about Africa?
So, what globalism tells me more about Africa is that Africa has a lot of potential. But how do we tap that potential is always the topic, is always the question. Where is the money? How is it flowing? That is it. So there is no doubt about the potential. Whoever you meet, they will tell you that the future is belongs to Africa, because it is Africa that still have millions and billions of people lacking access to electricity. And that is a huge business. It is Africa that has a lot of schools not built, a lot of out of school children. That is a business opportunity. So you talk about the industries, they are nowhere to be found in Africa. So the potential is there. And what I always hear from people on the global fora is that something needs to be done to Africa, but then Africa has unique problems. And until these problems are solved, then we would not go nowhere. And these are mostly attached to institutional weaknesses. So our institutions have to be strengthened. And do you think somebody will come from somewhere to strengthen your
No way.
institution? No, no way. Africa built the institutions. I was talking to somebody who was telling me how Switzerland were able to, start making their own electricity project. It started from communities. communities coming together to make their electricity. Where the community I came from, because I told the person I can relate with it, because the community I came from, it is members of the community, our parents, who combined 1 naira, 2 naira, and combine everything to bring their electricity into the
Right.
community. So if this model could work in Switzerland, I think it's a model that could work
Anywhere.
everywhere. So we don't have to, yeah, wait for someone to
To
come and do it
save
for
us.
us. We can do it. We should. Mm.
Nobody's coming to save Africa. Africa needs to save itself. We strengthen institutions. That's the
Exactly.
I think message from that. Now let's end with the future, not just your future as an energy maybe finance expert, but the future of a generation that must choose whether to inherit problems or design solutions. What is the big question your research must answer before you are done?
Yeah. So my research questions are three, not just one.
Okay.
Um, Questions are, where is the money?
Okay.
Because we need to know where is the money. And then secondly, how do we then take the money to the country, for instance, or to the continent? And then final question is, how does that solve the problem? Because when you have these things fixed, you need to also understand that the solution has been fully implemented and is fully workable. So that is why we have to contextualize everything to fit into our reality. So these are the questions that
Your
what could be
research.
done? Yeah, yeah, it could be summarized. What could be done to solve Africa's renewable energy problem financially? Because renewable energy has long transited from a technological problem
To a
to now
financial
financial, because
problem.
all the technologies exist. Yeah, all the technologies exist. But finance remains a huge, huge, huge bottleneck that we need to do something into it. So by the end of it, we'll be able to answer this
Yeah.
question.
When people listen to you, your story, what do you want them to remember? Your achievement, your journey, or the people you hope to lift? I mean, give back to.
Mm. I want people to remember possibility whenever they remember about my name, that everything is possible. I have always said it to my very close people that there is no prerequisite to success, because I am what I am doing might not be what somebody is doing, or somebody has put in a million more effort than what I put, and they are where they are, or I am even better than them from what it looks like. So possibility is very, very important. If you should see me or you should remember me, then remember that possibility exists, because where I come from, should I go back and imagine myself doing it? Honestly, it wouldn't have been possible. Let me tell you, Halima, I finished my master's degree last year, and even after finishing, I never thought I would do a PhD, because PhD was even my option C. So, but how God does his thing is that now I'm doing a PhD because it is possible. You have to believe that it is possible. Then you can achieve it. And this has to be told to young Nigerians that don't play with opportunity. If it doesn't cost you anything, then you have no excuse. I have always held this mantra and it has helped me. If anything does not cost you anything, then go for it. For instance, there is a conference that you need to apply to and you don't have to pay anything. Why not do it? It doesn't cost you, you have the time. Why not go for it? So people should stop folding their hands and should stop blaming the system. People should see possibility in their potentials and go for it. Push, knock, and do everything possible to ensure that their spirit does not don't die.
Thank you
So
so
I
much.
think
And
that.
let's wrap it up with a segment called Rapid Fire. It's short answers,
Oh.
simple yes and no, or a very brief sentence. For you, talent or
Mm.
discipline?
Discipline,
Mentorship or money?
according to mentorship,
Local roots or global exposure?
global exposure, very important.
Solar, wind, gas, or all of the above?
All of the above,
Ver-
we need them.
Biggest barrier to clean energy finance?
Institutional weakness.
And one habit that changed your life?
Mm, Curiosity has changed my life.
Okay, one book, idea, or person that shaped you?
One book, The Third Door, I recommend it to everyone. One person that shaped me, Dr. Balami Jamawunti.
Okay, and one idea?
One,
One idea that shaped you?
yeah, believing it is possible.
One thing young Africans must stop doing?
just happen by miracle.
Okay, one thing they must start doing to improve their lives.
Pushing further.
Complete this sentence.
Impact is, this is tough. Impact is giving back. Yeah.
Okay, impact is giving back. Thank you so much, Sani, for joining us. Today's conversation reminds us that impact does not begin when the world starts clapping. Impact begins in the unseen years, the questions, the discipline, the mentors, the failures, the rooms entered with humility and the decision to make one's journey useful to others. Sani's story is not only about renewable energy finance, it's about human energy, the kind that turns curiosity into competence, opportunity into responsibility, and success into service. Africa does not only need young people who lead, it needs young people who learn, build, return, connect, invest, mentor, and light the next path for others. So today we leave you with this question. If someone's sacrifice helped you rise, who will rise because you chose to give back? I am Halima Abdullah, and this is S24 Insight. Bye for now.
That was tough. Like the last one was very tough.